without any further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Eddie.
Yeah. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Explainer Masterclass. I'm Edward Stunga, and among other video-related projects, I run a company called The Explainer Company, which is one of the sponsors of this event. Absolutely no relationship to Elon Musk with The Boring Company, just a coincidence. As you can probably guess from the name, at The Explainer Company, we make awesome explainer videos. And I would imagine at this point, pretty much everyone here in this room knows what an explainer video is. But just in case you don't, an explainer video is basically a piece of video marketing content. It's usually very fun, dynamic, and engaging to watch. It's usually quite short, around 1 to 2 minutes on average. Usually they tend to be animated, but they could be live action as well. And usually tends to sit at the top of your funnel. So it's one of the first points of contact between a user and your brand or company or service or product. And again, as the name kind of suggests it, an explainer video tends to explain who you are, what do you do, how you do it, and most importantly, why people should care. So basically, it takes something that could be very, very complex to explain and might take one of your salespeople, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and boils it down into just 1 or 2 minutes so people can get that aha moment in their head very, very fast. Now, before we get to the actual presentation, I just want to give you a small little introduction about myself. I'm Edward Stunga, the guy with the weird name in the flyer. That's because originally I'm from Romania, a region called Transylvania, which you might have heard of, which is where real vampires come from. And I've been making explainer videos for around 10 years at this point. Probably produced well over 400 videos for clients all over the world in multiple different languages, different industries, and so on, including some of the clients that we work with you might recognize. Even in the internet marketing space, we work with people such as Simon Warner, Brad Goss, Mark Thompson from Pay Kickstart, Brian Moran from Samcart. I think we might have made a video or two for Dean Holland as well. Or you might recognize some more mainstream clients. For example, we work with companies such as Avis, National Grid, Church of England, GiveGaff, and so on. So, we also run a pretty successful YouTube channel with around 46,000 subscribers where we usually release video marketing content. But if you want to learn more about explainer videos, right now we're actually launching a couple of new videos specifically about explainer videos. So if you want to learn even more and go even deeper, definitely check that out. Now that being said, I want to take all that experience accumulated over the years and just put it in a very, very practical presentation filled with actionable tips and strategies you can implement straight away. And so I'm not here to sell you anything today. Obviously, we're an explainer video production company, so we do make explainer videos for a living. This is our bread and butter. I will briefly mention at the end of this presentation our services and pricing for 2 minutes. But my goal here today is to teach you one very, very valuable skill that I'm very excited to show you guys, and I think you're going to be thrilled to learn as well. And it's actually funny how this works because it was completely unexpected yesterday during the Shark Tank competition. I kind of got to demonstrate a little bit how you can write a very high converting script. And it's funny enough that today I'm going to teach you how I actually did that. So the number one driving factor behind the success of any explainer video that's almost guaranteed to get you a good return on investment is the script. And I'm here today not to teach you about animation, graphic design, branding, color theory, composition, framing, storytelling, none of that. I'm here to teach you about script writing because the script is always in your control. So it doesn't matter how you choose to produce an explainer video, whether you hire a company, an established company like ours, in which case there's not really much to worry about. But if you hire anyone else, you can always focus on getting a good script because you can either make some changes yourself or you can even actually write the full script yourself, which is very, very powerful because the script is basically the foundation of any successful explainer video. So I'm going to give you 2 scenarios here. Like in the first scenario, you can have a video that has a well-written script with a poorly produced video that it's still going to perform very well. Whereas on the other scenario, for example, you can have a poorly written script with an amazing video. It might have all the fancy graphics, all the fancy animation. It might be fun to look at, but if it doesn't talk to your target audience, if it doesn't connect to them emotionally, you're not going to achieve your desired result. So obviously you want to focus a lot on the script. And I'm actually going to give you a good example of the first scenario with a good script but a poorly made video. And this is obviously an internet marketing crowd, so I think you can relate to this one a little bit more. Those kind of videos were popular a while ago. I haven't seen that many recently. I'm talking about those classic video sales letter videos produced in PowerPoint. They were, very, very bad, like black text on a white background, no music, no graphics, no photos, no animation, absolutely nothing. Even the voiceover actually was very, very bad. Like you could actually hear it was, recorded on the laptop's microphone. You could actually hear the fans in the background. But I remember personally sitting through so many videos of those, like 15 minutes long, 20 minutes, sometimes even 30 minutes or more. It didn't matter how bad the video was, but the script talked directly to me and connected to me emotionally and was talking about the situation that I was going through at that moment, and I just ended up buying whatever product or service they were selling. So that's a very good example of amazing script, good copy, but a poorly produced video. Obviously, in an ideal world, you want to have a well-written script with a well-produced video as well. So, first I want to share with you guys the structure that we use when we write any sort of script. And honestly, I was going to simplify this and make it a 4-step structure because that's what we usually talk about on our free YouTube videos. But I decided why not at the Marketing Summit. I'm just going to reveal all our secrets and go for the full 8-step structure that we actually use internally for all the scripts for our high-level clients. And this is actually what I used yesterday as well for the VSL. And it's literally just a matter of using this as an outline, and then you just start typing and basically fill in the gaps in a way, yeah? So let's look at step number 1, which is the attention grabber. And it's actually funny, Justin's presentation earlier was kind of hinting at this as well with YouTube ads. So the attention grabber is literally the first 5 seconds of your video or the first sentence, right? Because unconsciously when you land on a website and you see a bunch of text or a video, obviously you're going to be lazy, so you're not going to read all the text, you're just going to press play. And you make a decision in your head in the first couple of seconds if that video is for you, and you're going to keep watching. So you want to grab people's attention early on in the first couple of seconds and hook them and spark some curiosity so that they keep watching the rest of the video. And a couple of ways to do this is you can talk about a situation that's familiar to them, in which case their reaction is going to be like, oh, I recognize that situation, that's what I'm going through right now. Or you can make a bold claim, in which case they're going to be a little bit more curious to find out how you're going to back that up. Or you can go even further a little bit and make an even bolder claim, for example. You could claim that something is the exact opposite of what common sense tells you that it is, in which case they're going to be even extra curious to find out what do you mean by that. So once you grab people's attention, you go to step number 2, which is you start talking about the problem that they're going through. Because pretty much every business on the planet offers a solution to a problem. So this is pretty classic stuff. I'm not going to go very deep into it, but this is where you talk about the problem of your target audience, the pain points that they're going through, and if you grab people's attention and talk about their exact situation, you want their reaction to be, yes, that's exactly what I'm going through right now. I recognize the situation. That's exactly how I'm feeling, and I'm trying to fix this, which is going to achieve, first, it's going to increase your video engagement, so people are going to keep watching the rest of your video. And number 2, and this is very important, if you talk about the problem of your target audience, this is literally going to establish you as an expert or an authority in that particular field. Because only an expert in that domain will know exactly all the nitty-gritty details of the particular problem, because he or she or the company has worked with multiple people or other companies in that target market and has solved that problem. So it instantly establishes you as an authority, which gives you a lot of credibility points, which are super, super good. We're going to talk about credibility a little bit later. All right, then you got step number 3, which is the status quo. And what I mean by that is during the status quo step, you need to, so before we actually introduce the solution, which is going to be step number 4, a solution is not really that special if there are a ton of other solutions on the market that do the exact same thing. So you want to address the typical way of doing business. So basically you want to look at all the other solutions on the market that can solve the exact same problem, and you want to frame them as not being good enough. Because later on, once you introduce your solution, you want it to sound like the only instant magical solution to their problem. All right, then we got step number 4, which is where you introduce the solution. And this could be something as simple as, I mean, obviously, depending on how long you got in the script, how long you're going to make it, but it could be something as simple as introducing the explainer company, right? Or you could actually connect number 3 and number 4, for example, and say something like, but what if there was a way to lose weight without counting calories and without giving up on all your favorite foods like pizza, ice cream, and burgers? Introducing intermittent fasting, right? So that's how you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So at this point, if people are still watching your video, you grab their attention, you talk about their problem, talk about what's wrong with all the other solutions, you introduce your solution. People are pretty invested at this point, but they want to know how you're going to address that problem, how your solution works. So basically, how is your solution going to solve their problem? And in this step, you literally want to reaffirm the easiness of using your solution. You want your solution to seem like it's simplifying their lives, not making it more complicated. And Sean actually talked about this yesterday a little bit. As human beings, we like to think about things in terms of number 3. So if you can take whatever it is that you're doing, no matter how complicated, simplify it in just 3 simple steps, that's going to be very good, because we tend to think about things like 1, 2, 3, too many. So if it's more than 3 steps, then it just feels very complicated, and people are not going to like that because they want the simplicity of your solution, right? And it could be something very simple, like step number 1, download our app from the App Store. Step number 2, register a free account. Step number 3, get cookies delivered to your door in 30 minutes or less. So it could be anything, yeah? And again, it doesn't matter how complex it is what you do, because at this point, being an explainer video that's only literally 1 to 2 minutes that sits at the top of your funnel, people are still making up their minds if you're a good match for them, right? So you don't want to go all the way in, like in all the nitty-gritty details. Because once they make up their mind and figure out that your solution is something that they're looking for, then they can find out a little bit more, read what else you got on the website, or reach out to find exactly how your solution works. Yeah, so reaffirm the easiness of your solution, and don't make it complicated for your target audience. All right, then you go to step number 6, which is talking about the benefits. And I'm sure if you've been in marketing for a while, you've definitely heard this before as well. You want to focus on the benefits, not the features. And the reason for that is because human beings, we're emotional creatures, and we tend to buy things for emotional reasons, even if later we might rationalize it and convince ourselves we did it for logical reasons. We just react to emotions a little bit better. So you want to think about features as like literally the technical feature, and the benefit as the emotional result, implication, or advantage of that particular feature. And I'm going to give you an example. Like right now we're making a video for a client that has it's a white label mobile app for travel agencies and tour operators in the UK. And one of the main features of this app that literally sets them apart from the competition is basically that their app has offline access, right? So it's kind of like a Booking.com white label for travel agencies. And the main feature they wanted to focus on in the video is the fact that it has offline access. So obviously a very basic way to say it is that our app has offline access. But what does that actually mean? So you can phrase it something like, even if you travel abroad and you don't have an internet connection, you can still easily access all your travel documents, flight tickets, itineraries, hotel reservations on your phone. So you don't have to worry about anything. You can just sit back, relax, and enjoy your holiday. You see how that's different? Because now you're not selling the offline mode. Now you're selling the peace of mind. So people want the peace of mind. Like, that's an emotional reaction, yeah? All right, then we go to step number 7, which is the credibility. So obviously everything that we do is online, and pretty much everyone can claim anything they want online, but you gotta be able to back it up, right? So who are you to claim all those things? Like, everything that you said so far sounds good, but it's still a little bit risky for me to give you my money and like buy your product or service. So this is gonna be a little bit different depending on your particular case. Obviously it's gonna be different from company to company, depending on what angle you can take with this, but a couple of pretty common ones are, you can talk about how many years you've been in business, right? You could say something like, with over 20 years of experience creating software solutions for travel agencies in the UK, which obviously instantly establishes you as an expert. Or you could use the angle of, how many happy customers you had, how many successful clients you had. You could frame that something like, with over 10,000 happy customers, you can rest assured that this and that, yeah? And you just have to use whatever you have available to just generate a little bit of social proof. And for example, a common objection that I get to this is that, there's a lot of startups out there that don't really have a track record, a history of, they're just new on the market, probably didn't even release a product yet. So they haven't really been in business for a long time. They don't have a lot of customers yet. So one thing that you can do to still get some credibility in that case is you can try to take the risk away as much as you can, right? And you can do that by just simply offering a money-back guarantee, right? So it could be a simple one like 30 days, no questions asked, money-back guarantee, or you could make it a little bit more specific to whatever it is that you do. Like, if you don't increase your traffic by 50% or more within 30 days, we're gonna give you all your money back, okay? So whatever you can do that works for your particular case, there's a couple of different other angles that you can use. You wanna establish a little bit of credibility, because so far everything you said sounds good, but there's still a little bit of fear, like, why would I risk my money with you? All right, and next step, the last step in the structure, is the call to action. And you wanna do this properly. You wanna focus quite a lot on the call to action, and of course, again, there's gonna be different from business to business depending on whatever customer journey you wanna take. And the thing is, you cannot expect people online to just take the exact action that you want them to take after they finish watching your video without actually telling them exactly what it is. And in explainer videos, we don't usually go for a hard sale directly in the video, because this, again, is one of the first points of contact between a user and your company. They literally just found out about you like 2 minutes ago. So we don't really go for a hard sell like buy now, because it doesn't really convert that well. I got this analogy, I think, from Ryan Dice. It's kind of like you go on a first date with a girl, and then you instantly propose her to marry you. It's not gonna really work. You're just gonna look like a fucking idiot. Yeah. And from a purely conversion rate point of view, it's not a good idea. Yeah. So you wanna nurture that relationship and build that connection a little bit more. So what we tend to do in explainer videos usually is we go for softer close, right? Could be anything from download our app, register for a free account, sign up for a free 14-day trial, download our free report, book an appointment, schedule a demo. And now when you're on a demo and you got 30 minutes, 60 minutes with a client, that's when you can go for the sale, yeah? All right, so this is pretty much the structure, right? It's 8 steps. You wanna go through them in order. And the way we do this is you just start with an empty document and you use this as an outline, and you just try to fill in the gaps, basically. So this is what's gonna basically bring you the most video engagement and It's going to guarantee that people go and watch your entire video. You want to take them on a journey in this exact order. Yeah.
So very nicely structured presentation. Do you have an intention to create a webinar around this? Because I'm sure it would open many doors to you. You know, and give another dimension to your business and open new revenue streams. Business, you know.
I don't have any plans for that right now. No.
You can just expand on this presentation.
Yeah, we can talk about it later. Yeah, after. Yeah, let's talk about it after. Yeah. So this structure. I mean, obviously, this structure for writing a script is tailored around writing scripts for explainer videos, but you can pretty much use the exact same structure for any kind of other video, whether it's a sales video, a YouTube video, any sort of other, I don't know, presentation, or any sort of like marketing content in general. Yeah. Honestly, depending on how long the explainer video is, you might not even be able to go through all the steps, because an explainer video is usually around 1 to 2 minutes. So if it's 1 minute, you might have to skip a couple of those or get extra creative and combine them. But if it's around 1.5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes, you can actually go through all of them. So if budget is not an issue, I personally prefer to just make a longer video and be able to go through the entire structure. Which brings us to the next part of the presentation, which is a couple of quick tips and strategies that you can implement straight away. So number one is the length of the script. So a general guideline is that around 150 words translate to roughly 1 minute of video, which honestly is just a bunch of paragraphs, so it's not really a lot. The sweet spot that pretty much all explainer companies can agree on is that an explainer video should be anywhere between 1 to 2 minutes in length. And again, this is something that pretty much everyone agrees on. And it's also backed by data a little bit. And the biggest sort of study/research that I know of is study made by a company you might know. It's called Wistia. It's a video player, pretty popular. And they looked at around, I think it was like 500,000 videos with a combined video count, like view count, of like 1.3 billion. So they basically looked at all of that and the engagement rate. And for the first 1 to 2 minutes, like you don't really lose much engagement, but anything after 2 minutes, the video engagement starts going down a little bit. So generally, yeah, you should make a video and explain a video that's around 1 to 2 minutes. But if it's a little bit longer, I don't think it really matters too much. I wouldn't really stress over that. Because I think the number one thing that drives video engagement is not exactly how long your video is, but how good is your script. Very, very important. And also, I would say it also depends a little bit on what sort of industry you're in. Obviously, if you're in business to consumer, then the attention span might be a little bit shorter. But if you're in business to business, right? I noticed that I think the bigger the problem that you solve, the longer the attention span, right? So, for example, one of our clients is a software company from California that works with hospitals. And they have the software solution that helps them optimize their schedule and resource allocation and literally saves them like millions of dollars every year. So when you solve a problem that's that big, like the attention span is going to be a little bit longer. So you can go a little bit deeper. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, generally try to keep an explainer video anywhere between 1 to 2 minutes. If it's longer, don't sweat over it. And if it's a big problem that you solve, you can go even deeper. It's going to be good. All right. Strategy number 2 is you should ask questions in the script. And this is actually very, very powerful because asking question literally engages the viewer to think and imagine a couple of things. And even if consciously they might not answer you back, I mean, they would talk to a laptop, that would be weird. But subconsciously, the wheels start turning and it's very, very engaging, right? And you can even use it's an NLP. You can use an NLP technique called future pacing, where you ask people to imagine themselves in a future desired situation. And obviously, the only way to reach the future desired situation is by using your solution, which is very, very powerful stuff. All right. Target audience. And honestly, I should have started with this because the target audience is something you want to focus on before you even write a single word of your script. Because in copywriting, the who is always 10 times more important than the what. So I'm sure if you've been in marketing for a while, you've heard this so many times, but you need to know exactly who your target audience is. You need to investigate like a detective, find out who they are, how old they are, what gender, how much money they make, where do they live, what values do they stand for, what problems they're dealing with, all that kind of stuff. And even very interestingly, you need to know exactly, and this is a very, very cool trick, you need to know exactly how they speak, what words and phrases do they use. Because this is a nice little copywriting trick. It's kind of like 25% of copywriting is literally just talking like your target audience, using the exact same words and phrases and vocabulary that they use, yeah? And I'll give you 2 examples for that. Let's say you sell vegan cookies, yeah? Your target audience obviously is gonna react a little bit better to vocabulary such as plant-based, raw, organic, biodegradable, recyclable, whole foods, unprocessed, vitamin D, vitamin B12, all that kind of stuff, yeah? Or I'll give you another example. Like we made a video a while ago for a software company that was being sold to a demographic that wasn't really good with software, and they hated all the other solutions on the market because they were super confusing at that time. And while we were talking about the problem in the step number 2 and 3, also talking about other solutions on the market and how they're not good enough, we try to agitate the pain points a little bit more by using a lot of vocabulary such as front end, back end, content management system, API, CTR, whatever. So those are words that confuse the hell out of them, but words that the target audience recognize, which is very, very important.
Sorry, were you saying to use them then or not use them?
Oh, definitely use them because you want them to recognize those words and feel like you're talking to them so they can find your content relevant. Yeah, because if you talk like your target audience, now you're basically part of the circle, right? If you don't talk like them, you're gonna be like someone else from the outside who's just trying to get their money, basically, right? So you wanna be part of the club. All right, strategy number 4, and this is very, very important, and I think also Sean talked about this yesterday. You wanna talk about them, not about yourself. And people make this mistake quite a lot, and I see it in a lot of videos and scripts, and it actually happens quite a lot. We sometimes get clients who come to us and they write their own scripts and they come asking us like, how much does it cost to produce an explainer video? But we have our own script. And we take a look at the script and eventually we got to rewrite everything because it's complete garbage. And what ends up happening is they pay the full price anyway. But this is very important because a lot of times if you write a script for the first time, you're just gonna talk in the first person. We do this, our company does this, we got this award, our process, our solution, our values. But at this point, like people are kind of selfish. They don't really care what you do, who you are. They just want to know what's in it for them, right? So you wanna phrase as much as possible around your target audience. So actually what you want to do is you want to do a search in your document, whether it's Pages, Google Docs, Word, whatever, and actually use Control F or Command F on a Mac and just search for all the pronouns in the first person, we, our, us, and see how many times you mention it, and just try to rephrase all of those sentences as much as possible, yeah? And don't get me wrong, like it's normal to mention we, our, us a couple of times, but you want to do it maybe like once, twice, maximum 3 times. And even then, if you actually do it, you wanna somehow connect it, like in the second part of the sentence, to the target audience. So you can say, our company this and that, which means that you get this and that. So like we got this award, which means that you are in good hands. Something like that. All right, then we got strategy number 5, which is a little bit weird, but it's very important to actually read your script out loud. Because the way we write is actually very different than the way we speak, right? And you want your explainer video to sound and feel like a genuine, honest, one-on-one conversation between you and someone in your target audience. And if you read it out loud, you're gonna notice if something feels a little bit weird, and you should actually keep working on that part and just improve it until it sounds better. So yeah, this you gotta do this as well. And the last tip that I want to share with you today is tip number 6. You gotta sleep over it, because no matter how good you are at copywriting, if you're a world-class copywriter, novel writer, Hollywood film writer, whatever, like nobody gets it right on the first draft. You gotta keep working and improving your drafts all the time. And the thing is, like once you work on writing a script for like, I don't know, many hours, you get so consumed into writing it that you actually might miss on a lot of very small details and you might not be able to notice them. So what you want to do is you want to take some time away, go do something else, go sleep, whatever, and come back the other day with a pair of fresh eyes. And I promise you're going to notice a couple of things that you will miss otherwise. And this really, really helps you improve the script quite a lot.
Big round of applause for Lee, please. Okay, I'm gonna